What's cracking? It's your homie, Mr. Criminal. Shout out to everybody out there supporting these reaction videos. Go ahead and hit us with a like, comment, and subscribe, and we will keep on bringing these reactions. Hit us with a comment below right now so I can see what you guys think about this topic. Very important to interact with the people. So today we are reacting to, again, China and Trump. You know, they say China behind the scenes has done something with their nuclear. I'm not sure. I just saw the thumbnail and I wanted to react live. So let's watch it right now and give our opinion on it.
In a major development ahead of Donald Trump's expected visit to China, Beijing has taken a clear stand on Iran's nuclear program. Defending Tehran, China said Iran has a legitimate right to the peaceful use of nuclear energy, according to AFP. The statement comes amid intense global scrutiny of Iran's nuclear ambitions and rising tensions across the Middle East.
So this is about Iran and China supporting Iran's nuclear program. Let's continue to listen.
Beijing's position is not new. China has consistently supported Iran's right to civilian nuclear energy while opposing sanctions and military pressure, even as the United States and other Western powers increase pressure on Tehran. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi said China appreciates Iran's commitment not to pursue nuclear weapons. He made the remarks during high-level talks in Beijing with his Iranian counterpart, Abbas Araghchi.
This is definitely a conflict of interest when it comes to what America's trying to get. So America's trying to get Iran to abandon their nuclear program, and China is one of the powers of the world stated that they support it. So this goes in direct conflict with the U.S. request. So let's continue to listen.
Wang called for an immediate ceasefire and warned against any resumption of hostilities, emphasizing the importance of dialogue and negotiations. He added that China supports Iran in safeguarding its national sovereignty and security, and commended Tehran for pursuing a political solution through diplomacy. On the Strait of Hormuz, Wang said the international community is concerned about restoring safe and normal navigation, urging all parties to respond swiftly. He also called on Gulf and Middle Eastern nations to take the future of the region into their own hands, encouraging dialogue between Iran and its neighbors to build a shared regional security framework.
This is going against everything Israel and Iran, or Israel and the United States has against Iran. This is definitely going against the grain. And I don't think Trump would appreciate this, but maybe China is setting their foot down like, we're tired of the US involving themselves in conflict around the globe.
This conflict has been ongoing for more than 2 months, not only causing severe losses to the Iranian people, but also dealing a serious blow to regional and global peace and stability. China is deeply saddened by this. We believe that a comprehensive ceasefire is of the utmost urgency. Renewing the fight is unwise. We must stay committed to negotiations.
China's statement carries significant geopolitical weight. It comes at a time when tensions between the United States and Iran remain high, raising fears of further escalation. Meanwhile, Donald Trump is widely expected to visit China on May 14th, 15th. The visit was originally intended to focus on major bilateral deals across key sectors, but the crisis involving Iran has reportedly disrupted China's broader plans and expectations. Iran's nuclear program has been a source of global controversy for decades. The United States, Israel, and other Western nations accuse Iran of pursuing nuclear weapons. However, Tehran has consistently maintained that its nuclear program is intended for peaceful, civilian purposes.
Beijing has fired back at Washington's sanctions campaign, and this time, China is not just protesting, it is ordering its companies not to comply. The Chinese Ministry of Commerce has issued a formal blocking order prohibiting domestic entities from recognizing, enforcing, or complying with recent U.S. sanctions
Now, this is when China puts a big middle finger to the United States. This is when China really puts their foot down and says, we're not gonna pay for these tariffs. We're not gonna change up what we've been doing. You see, the U.S. when it wants to punish other countries, it sets tariffs. But this is now China standing up for their country and saying they're gonna do whatever they have to do to not pay it. So it's definitely come to it. They could meet in 2 weeks, basically, but the fact of the matter is they don't get along and they're not gonna see eye to eye. They might smile for the cameras, they might shake hands, but deep down inside, they really wanna get over on each other.
Targeting 5 major Chinese petrochemical firms. The order, issued under China's Rules on Counteracting Unjustified Extraterritorial Application of Foreign Legislation, effectively shields these companies from the legal and financial fallout of Washington's Economic Fury campaign. The U.S. Treasury recently blacklisted the firms for their alleged involvement in the shipment and refining of Iranian petroleum, which currently fuels much of China's independent refining sector.
And this is exactly why China has interest in the region, because they get, I think it's 40% of their oil from Iran in that region, from the Strait of Hormuz. So you got to think 40% oil from one of the biggest nations in the world, how much they're consuming and dealing with day-to-day life based off of this oil. You better believe they're getting involved. You better believe this is something that they frown upon and ain't finding too favorable.
The MOCOM directive creates a legal firewall, making it a violation of Chinese law for any individual or institution within China, including branches of foreign banks, to freeze the assets of these companies or refuse to conduct business with them based on U.S. designations. By formalizing this resistance, China is signaling that its energy security, particularly its reliance on Iranian crude to power its teapot refineries, is non-negotiable. If these companies are effectively cut off from the dollar clearing system, Beijing is expected to facilitate their transactions through the Cross-Border Interbank Payment System, CIPS, using the digital yuan, ECNY, further accelerating the de-dollarization of the global oil trade. Beijing has warned that it would take necessary countermeasures against any party that complies with the U.S. sanctions to the detriment of Chinese national interests, placing multinational corporations and global banks in a difficult dual compliance trap.
Beijing has sent a clear message ahead of U.S. President Donald Trump's planned visit to China. If the Strait of Hormuz is still in crisis by the time Air Force One lands in Beijing, it will be on top of the agenda. Speaking to reporters in New York, China's permanent representative to the UN, Fu Kong, stressed that while the China-U.S. relationship goes far beyond the current crisis, the continued closure of the world's most vital energy choke point has become an unavoidable priority. Trump is scheduled to meet President Xi Jinping on May 14th-15th for a historic summit that was previously delayed by the outbreak of hostilities on February 28th. As the world's largest oil importer, with nearly 40% of its crude passing through the Strait, China views the restoration of navigation as a matter of urgent national and global interest.
Damn straight, because like I said, 40% of the oil that comes from there is going to China's gas. So that's come on, let's talk about it. It's powering their military. Without that, their military isn't going to have any force. It's powering the daily drivers of the Chinese people. It's powering like so many things. You could count so many things, so many industries, and you know, if their government military ceases to stop, that's a big problem. They ain't gonna have that. And then if their consumers and regular people stop driving to work and stop driving to buy things every single day, their country's going to stop as a whole. No more commerce, no more industry, no more nothing. So this is definitely a big problem. This is definitely a problem that China has to keep their eye on.
The responsibility for reopening the strait lies with both sides, Fu stated, calling for a synchronized de-escalation where Iran lifts its restrictions and the United States terminates its retaliatory naval blockade. He expressed particular alarm over recent rhetoric from Washington, suggesting the current ceasefire is merely temporary, urging the international community to speak out against a resumption of kinetic operations. He also denied military collaboration of China with Iran in the hostilities which began in February 2026.
So China's view is that we need to open the Strait of Hormuz as quickly as possible. And that actually applies to both sides. Iran needs to lift its restrictions on the Strait of Hormuz, and the U.S. need to lift its naval blockade. Frankly speaking, we are very concerned about some of the remarks we have been hearing recently about this ceasefire being temporary, about the need to initiate another round of attack. I think the international community should be mobilized and raise our voices against the resumption of fighting.
Yeah, but the NATO said that they don't want nothing to do with this. You see, NATO has taken a stance that they're backing out of it, that they're not getting involved in it, they're not anything. So that's definitely a big sign.
In that part of the world. I'm sure if the Hormuz is still closed by the time President Trump goes to China, this issue will be high on the agenda of the bilateral talk. And of course, the bilateral relationship between China and the U.S. goes far beyond the issue of Hormuz. And I think it is in the interest of both countries and both peoples, and I may say for the entire world, of the people of the entire world, that China and the U.S. maintain steady and sound and sustainable relationship. And yes, in our belief, if the two sides can show mutual respect and can stick to the principle of peaceful coexistence and the win-win cooperation, this bilateral relationship can prosper. And as we often say, that the world is big enough to accommodate both China and the United States. It doesn't have to be a zero-sum game between the two countries. So the two sides, as far as I know, now here in New York, as far as I know, the two sides are making preparations for this historic visit. And we do hope that this visit will materialize. So it is in...
They said it's a historical visit. This is definitely a historical visit because one of two things are gonna happen. They're gonna agree to disagree, or they're gonna make some type of treaty. And this is definitely a scary situation for both sides. This could be the determining factor for a World War III happening in the future. This is definitely the talks of something big happening.
Incumbent upon both China and the United States to help maintain the international order and to support the role of the UN. And as the biggest financial contributors of the organization, and there are a lot of commonalities in the positions in how the UN is run. Of course, I also hasten to add that the UN is for all member states. So no big power should adopt this approach that the interest of that big country should be put above the interest of the entire membership. But there are things that we do believe that China and US can work together. There is no military cooperation between China and Iran. And we know that some of the allegations from some of the U.S. officials, they were false. But we are very sympathetic to the what the Iranian people are enduring, which actually as I said, the illegitimate war that is imposed on the people, and we do hope that we're trying our best to see to an end to the fighting, and as much as we can. We are.
See, they view it as not right. They view it as the U.S. attacked Iran for the wrong reasons. And a lot of people in America believe the same thing. They don't want nothing to do with this war. Israel wants us to be in that war. Israel wants the shed of innocent lives over there. You see, Israel has a lot of interest in America. And if America stops, a lot of things will happen. So we got to basically be at their call, so to say.
We are supportive of the geographical rotation, and also we also be happy to see a lady SG, female SG, and it has been 80 years, and so if we can have the female SG, China will be very happy to see. But you can rest assured, China will continue our support for the UN, will continue to support our brothers and sisters in the global south, and as much as we can, as China grows, the ability of China to help these countries will also grow, and will continue to do that.
The Chinese ambassador's remarks reflect a delicate balancing act for Beijing. China has faced massive supply chain disruptions, though reports suggest some Chinese-linked vessels have been granted passage by Tehran after paying tolls in yuan. China has positioned itself as a decisive arbiter, working through Pakistan to facilitate the original April 8th ceasefire and pushing for a long-term peace framework. While preparations for the Beijing summit remain on track, China has said it expects the U.S. to transition from Operation Epic Fury to a sustainable diplomatic solution. If the blockade persists, the summit will likely pivot from trade and technology towards a high-stakes negotiation over the future of Middle Eastern energy security.
There it is. There it is, and I guarantee it won't be settled by then, so we all know where it's going to go. So this is the makings of talks of what could possibly become World War III. Definitely. Comment below. Let me know what you guys think. I would definitely like to read in the comment section what you guys feel. And as always, stay prayed up. Take care of your family. Keep God first. And we out.